But yeah, I think we were just saying offline that we first had your car on in was it May 2021, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
May the
yeah,
10th.
yeah. Just after it came back from the respray.
And you said that was on 25th of February 2021, was it?
Yeah, that came back to my house on the day of my birthday, so 25th of Feb.
That's a pretty good present as
Yeah,
far as birthday presents go. That's pretty special.
I was pushing him all the way, and I said, "Look, don't be stressed if we can't get it for that deadline, but it'd be brilliant if we could." And that, thankfully, it came through.
Yeah, don't be stressed, but I will be upset if you ruin my birthday, sort of thing. I imagine that's how that conversation went. Yeah.
Yeah, there will be a discount at the end.
Yeah, you're not invited. You don't get any birthday cake.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, it was May the 10th in 2021, and then I suppose we sort of kick-started the Build Breakdown series again on the website on the 29th of November in 2024. So there was, well, I suppose almost 3-4 years between having the two Build Breakdowns. So a lot had changed, and even more work had been done. And then obviously in the, I suppose, 9 months, whatever it is now,
It's changed again.
It's changed again. So before we get into one of the most, I don't know, epic hatchback builds ever, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you've modified within an inch of its life.
So I'm Aaron from down in South Wales and Pembrokeshire, and it's a Renault Clio RS 200 originally, and it was our everyday family car when I first bought it. And as many probably do, they sort of say to their wives, "Oh, I won't modify this one." And well, yeah.
You took that to some extremes. At what point did I suppose at what point did your wife say, "Hang on a minute now"?
I think it was on the journey home. So I went up to Newcastle to pick it up, and on the journey home I'd already bought a carbon bonnet and full exhaust system for it. So when I turned up early hours in the morning and showed her the car the next day, she was like, "Oh yeah, that's nice." And then about 2 to 3 days after that, I think it was, the parts started turning up, and she went, "Oh, that didn't take very long, did it?" And it kind of it went steady from there. And then in 21, then beginning of 21, I decided to shape things up a little bit. Started where it's evolved to now, really.
Yeah, I mean, even looking back at it from when we had it on the site in 2021 to looking at obviously where it is the second time that we had it on, it, you're right, it's changed so much in that time. And it's awesome. So it was respray, and if you haven't gone and look, like, pause now and just go and have a look at the socials at the website, because it's epic. Like, it's so good. So it's had the respray, which is the Porsche purple, which is amazing in person as well. Like, it's such a nice color.
It's in the different lights. 1 minute it'll look black, and then it looks purple, and then the sun catches it and it shows the glitter in it. And it's a very hard car to be outside preparing for shows. 1 minute you look at it and think, "Oh God, I haven't done that bit," and then you like get up close to it and you're like, "Oh God, it looks totally different by here." And it's very, very hard under shades and stuff.
A photographer's nightmare, I imagine, when it's changing color in the lights. But no, it's awesome. I mean, we saw it unfortunately we didn't get to meet, but we saw it in person at Cruise Culture in 2024. and yeah, it's one of the standouts. Like it's
No.
epic. Like really, really good. How did you find it? So, was that the first? Well, I suppose what was the first show that you took it to then, if you can remember?
So in the September, I believe, of 21, we did take it up to Castle Coombe on stand with Drive Club Cymru.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We were just sort of parked up, just sort of let it on display. And then after that, I took it to Castle Coombe 24, and that was my first sort of where I was delving into individuality of sort of showing them, and I took a first place on it there, and from there we spiraled. Then I did a bit more work to the inside, and we went over to the Isle of Wight in May of last year, and we took Car of the Show out there as well. So we took the prestigious Fox Award out there, and then came back to Cruise Culture then last year. We took the most unique car of the show, which was a big shock of mine. I still get very bit of a lump in your throat every time you see the judges around it, and you think, "Oh, have I done enough here?" And what you think, you sort of think, "Oh, what's other people going to think of the car compared to how I see it?" And it's always nice to have feedback from judges, from people like yourselves, or just people coming to look and talk about the car. I think that's a highlight of the shows, which I had never seen before. And no conversation is ever the same, and everybody's opinions are always different, which I think is great. And it's just evolved from there, and we actually attended Max Power reunion show 2 weeks ago up in Stafford, and we won first place, best modified car of the show, which was absolutely mind-blowing when you grew up in that sort of era of car scene, reading magazines and seeing the live shows in the NEC, and to actually go there and have a car of your own there, and to come away with a trophy was just absolutely surreal.
Yeah, because it's heavily inspired by that era, isn't it? Like everything about it. I mean, I really love the boot build that you've done on there. You know, when I say the boot build, it's the boot and rear seat build. It's it is epic.
Yeah, that sort of started out as just 2 subs and an amp, and then that evolved into a little bit more. And for the last show, then we, between tweeters and door speakers and subs, we run 38 vibe speakers and 2 big amps, and 2 nitrous oxide bottles, which are currently for display purposes. Maybe if we go later on into maybe supercharging it, that we could introduce them to be functional.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's really something that I think would be a little bit of an evolution on my side of a build. It's something that I've always sort of been interested in, from like the Fast and Furious, and your Need for Speed, and like the children growing up now, and they say, oh, they call it the boost bottles because that's what they used to see in. So yeah, it's something that I'm intrigued to see where I go with it. It's the easiest way to say.
Well, that's the way. And I say, I'm just looking now. I think when you won the award at the reunion show, it looked like a nice family moment as well, right? You had your kids there posing in front of
Yeah.
the car with the, yeah, that's, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I suppose building it up to
Yeah.
that point and being able to share that moment.
Yeah, 100%. In every show I've attended so far, the children, we always make it a family outing. The children, the wife, and the family dogs. They even
Is
come with
that
us.
is that your dog that's making an appearance in the bottom right of the in the photo? Is it?
I would assume so. The little black one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, even came on the ferry over to the Isle of Wight with us last year, and yeah, it's, I think I think from growing up, seeing what my father initially did with cars, and to have my children sort of playing a part in it now is, yeah, it's something that you'll take to your grave, really.
Yeah.
You know, this year I was thankful we had Noah with me, and Amelia, and my recent boy Ivan, he was actually only 12 weeks old at the show, so it was a massive thing to even be able to take him there. He didn't seem phased at all. Bless him.
That's because it's in his blood. It's
Certainly in his blood, yeah.
no, I mean that's amazing, and I think it's so awesome that you're able to sort of share that as well. And yeah, what do the kids think when they see this car and all the work that you've put into it, and it, you know, taking first place at these shows, and you know it's standing out like, I don't know.
It's Noah now. He's a bit more sort of chilled with it. That car, the Clio in that we're talking about, is actually what I say is his car. So he nicknamed it Rocket, and he's very sort of plain sailing. He sort of doesn't show much emotion and stuff. But then after we come home, it's like, oh my God, goes to school and he's like, oh, my car won in the show and all this, and then we got Amelia then, who's she's just an absolute petrol head. She is. She's clean off the minute that you're out there, whether you're doing a bit of polishing or anything. She wants to be involved, and she's not scared to get her hands dirty, sort of thing. And every show since the very first, she goes, oh, are we going to get a trophy, Dad? And I say, no, we're not here for trophies. We're here to just take part. And then, especially like in Max Power, when they came around and put the sticker on the windscreen, she was like, see, Dad, I told you, see? And I was like, oh, crikey. So it's very hard to sort of get them to realise that not every event that we go to that we're going to get anything, and that we're there to just represent ourselves on the car, not there to just take trophies as such. Then we're just there, to take memories and experience more than anything.
Yeah, no, of course. I think, yeah, just going there to enjoy the journey, right? Enjoy the process of going to these events and doing the work. But obviously, no one's going to complain with a couple of trophies at the end.
No, and it's sort of evolved, but because I'd given that card to Noah, that she wanted something. So yeah, that would have been about November time. A little project came in that we put on the back burner for her. I'm not sure if you're up to scratch or anything on that one.
I remember you telling me at the time that you picked something up and it was a little bit hush hush and quiet, but I think since then,
yeah,
you've done. Yeah, go on. Tell us the details.
Oh, okay, so it's a full. It's a Corsa B. It was a 1 litre 3-cylinder when we bought it. Full MOT failure, rotten in all the usual places. Most places would have turned it even away at the scrapyard. But I sort of seen past it. after discussions with a couple of friends and the family, I wanted to build a full max power car back from the days of when I had one. And that started evolving. I was like, I'll just keep it as the little 1 litre. Just, it's just going to literally go to the shows and that's going to be it. It wasn't long before there was a Corsa VXR pulled up on the drive here, which I had it as a donor car. I literally, I took the engine out, took subframe off, etc., and decided to go about doing a full Corsa VXR swap to the Corsa B.
Wow.
Using the subframe and everything. Floor pans had to be cut out, wheel arches on the front. So, it was, bulkhead adjusted, just so I could get it to where I wanted to be fully unique. So that's currently on stop at the moment while I continue a little bit of showing with the Clio. But the schedule for that is for a reveal in Max Power reunion show next year.
Oh, nice.
So it's going for a respray at the end of this year. The colour's been chosen, but I'm going to leave that as a little bit of a hush-hush.
Yeah, don't give too much away. You got to keep them guessing.
But there is pictures out there of the build so far. It's got all the proper body kit, but I couldn't find anything with wheel arches wide enough, so I had to adapt Mark 1 Escort bubble arches to it. So again, it's going to be a one-of-one build like the Clio. But yeah, that, as I say, that's on stop. So we could sort of concentrate on the Clio for the remainder. I think I've got 3 shows lined up, and then we'll get back to the drawing board, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose there's a few things from that. I think there's probably very few people that can see, past the imminent death of a car in the state that it sounded like it was in when you picked it up. But obviously you've got a bit of a background in rallying, so if anyone can, it's probably someone with that background. Yeah. So there's that, which I'd love to get into as well. But then I think you said it, like, you do a lot of this work like yourself, like, if not all of it, right? Like, you're very hands-on with this. It's all, I think you sent a picture last time where you were stood on the roof and putting down the carbon roof and showing all the bits and everything that you've like ordered and got in for the car. So how well, you do all the work on it, I'm assuming. It's amazing.
Yeah, even down to the respray. I was down in Tommy's workshop, and I was sanding the car with him. I was masking it up. I was mixing paint with him, and I initially did the front bumper on it, so I had my little part to play in it, sort of thing. But apart from where I cut the roof off and adapted the carbon roof to fit, I'd say 90 to 95% of it then has been done on my driveway outside the front of the house here.
That's impressive, very impressive.
It's, well, like you say, when you're rallying and you've rebuilt cars in the middle of forests and stuff, it's a little bit sort of plain sailing as such.
Well, yeah.
There's ups and downs with it because I haven't got a garage. I've got a little shed out the back garden and the driveway. So, I'm very weather dependent, or unless I can nip down to my mate's garage. But then obviously the car has to be taxed and everything. If I said 90% of it then has been built on the driveway.
I mean, that's good going. I mean, it's amazing to see all the work, that's gone into it. And say, there's nothing better than seeing, I think, in progress pictures. And I say you stood on the roof smacking things down and push, and getting proper stuck in it. It's really nice to sort of see some of them in progress shots as well.
Yeah, I don't think many people do enough. I try to do my best with pictures. It's hard sometimes when you're in deep with projects, but I don't think many people do sort of in progress pictures, which I love to see myself, because I think, oh, crikey, how's he done that? And then, you go on and you see how they've done it, and you think, oh yeah, no, take my hat off to this here. It's like you can only do so much, can't you, with taking pictures of progress and doing the physical work as well, I suppose.
Yeah, well, no, that's it. Like, I for one wouldn't even know where to start with any of that stuff. In terms of putting VXR bits onto it, it's awesome. I've not seen any pictures, so I might have to chase you up for some.
Yeah,
after we finish doing this to have a look.
There is
but
a different Instagram thing for it. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I will send it over to you, and if you want to tag it in or anything, that's entirely up to you.
Oh no, of course, 100%, absolutely. But I mean, I think it's difficult with, talking about, I suppose, what you haven't done to the Clio, because, as you say, it is one of one.
Yeah.
And it's such a standout build, almost like a piece of art, because everything is there anything left on the car that's like stock at this point, other than I think a few bits that you mentioned in the build breakdown? But
well, it's funny, I actually put an image on my story the other day and asked if anybody was breaking a 197 or 200 if they had any OEM bits.
Yeah, I did see. I was wondering what's going on here, I wonder.
The amount of messages that came in and said, what can possibly be OEM on that? And I said, the boot rubber seal and the window seals on the doors.
That's it, with seals. We're not talking, normal things. Everything else, it's seals that need replacing. That's the level of detail that you've gone to on replacing and upgrading everything on this car. Yeah,
and it's only just that there's a couple of little blemishes in them that I'm just not very happy with and haven't really got round to doing. And apart from that, I think as Max Power Millsy, the original editor of Max Power, he's seen the car and he said every single inch of this car has been modified, hasn't it? And I was just like, yeah. But yeah, no, as you said, 101 build. I run the most real carbon on it on a Mark III Clio known anyway. I know there's a couple of guys on the Mark IIs that have got some insane builds, but even down to, I built front Barrett headlights for it originally. They were from a Mark I Focus. I molded them into the Clio shape, and then I sent them away to be done in carbon. And I've recently just done the tailgates to match, and they were done using a Saxo Moret rear tail light, and then molded into my cluster, and then again sent away then to be done in carbon.
Yeah.
So I like to try and be adventurous, and as you said earlier, a very Max Power inspired car.
Yeah.
Hence where sort of the Moret headlights sort of come from. But yeah, I do. I don't know if pride's the right word. I do say pride. I do pride myself on it being as unique as possible. I think it makes it stand out that little bit more.
Oh
from
yeah.
the rest, I suppose.
Oh, 100%. And I think to your point earlier, having those behind the shots as well, and being able to see the work that's been done and being so open about talking about it, because I know there's people that have these builds and they're awesome, but they're very sort of, oh, I'm not going to tell you my secrets sort of thing.
Yeah,
Whereas again, you're very open. So in terms of the process of sort of molding them lights, talk me a little bit more through that, because I'm quite intrigued in terms of, I suppose, how you did that, the process involved in sort of taking something that's not, meant for the car, I suppose originally, and going from there.
yeah. So it was around. It would have been around the November of 2020, just before the respray. I was sort of looking at the front of the car, and I sort of get my little headphones out and get my sort of inspirational head on, and I look at the car and I think, right, where can I take this that sort of nobody has? Instantly, I was like, Barrett's. I've got to go down the route of Barrett's. So I initially sort of scrolled through, and yeah, obviously nobody did them because obviously it was too new an era car. I then looked at having a similar sort of shape was my initial start. There was a lot on there of like Peugeot 206, Moret, and that sort of stuff. And I thought, that's just too normal. And then I just happened to come across this set of Focus Mark 1 Morets, and I thought, no, they look a little bit more interesting. They didn't have the indicators; they just had literally had the two, if we said headlights in them.
Yeah.
I then did a bit of like looking, with my good eye, as I'd say. Thought, right, yeah, I can do something here. So bought them off eBay. Bought a second-hand set of just Mark III Clio headlights, and basically put them side by side, worked out where I was going, a bit of cardboard templates here, a bit of Kellogg's cornflakes cardboard, and a bit of masking tape, and before long you had the grinder out and Dremel and you had plastic gluing things in place, and before I knew it, I had a light, a driver's side light initially was the first one, and I looked at it and I thought, where can I go now with an indicator? So I actually Googled the internet for initially looking for the ones that the Cosworths put into their bumper when they put the Morets on there, and it's like a little oval one.
Right, yeah.
I failed to find one, and I thought, what about something a bit more in this era of car? I actually found Subaru indicators, so I purchased them, and then lo and behold, sat there and thought, how can I get them to mold inside what I've already created? This is where a little bit of laugh and joke comes into it. It was actually an old spray can bottle, the cap that comes on the top.
Yeah.
The light fitted perfectly in there, so I used that as a mold, and then started fiberglassing from there. And but before long, I had one that I'd sort of fiberglassed and smoothed and sanded, and initially was just going to get them painted black. And then I was like, I wonder. So I made a couple of inquiries. The next step forward then was to get them done into carbon and sort of put them out there on the internet. The amount of people that were like, how have you done this?
Yeah.
Where did you buy them? They look factory. And I'm like, no, they're fully 100% built. I know there's a chap, I know he won't mind me saying, Drew Clio on Instagram. Never met him in person, but he's commented from day one, I really need a set of these. And it's a bit of a drawing point, because I suppose people, they get to a point and they're like sort of stuck in this loop where Clios are sort of known as maybe like a track car, and everyone sort of sticks to the same kind of modifications. And it was nice to do something different and to have positive feedback from it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because the fitment on them, as you say, is it just looked like it's come out of the factory. With them already on there, you've done such a good job of getting them to fit so nicely.
Yeah, it was a lot of head scratching, and I can't take all the credit. Like I know the chap OCD Carbon. He did them for me into carbon, and the workmanship on them alone in the carbon side of it sort of just helped what I'd sort of created, and I think they topped it off beautifully in my mind.
Yeah, they sort of elevated it to the where. Yeah, elevated the I suppose the design of them, right? And again, it fits so nice, and it's funny that you've got. So obviously you've mentioned a couple of cars there that have, I suppose, had donery bits to this. Are there any more, I guess, stories where you've got, maybe other bits of Subaru on the car somewhere where it wouldn't quite be the normal thing to do, or?
Yeah, so on the front bumper, on the lower side of the front bumper, I've got Subaru bumper vents, which are also in carbon. And on the back bumper, then I've put Corsa VXR vents into it, so I molded them into it. And obviously the Saxo rear morettes.
Yeah.
No, I think everything else has either been manufactured by myself or is a Clio part that's sort of been modified or developed ever so slightly. So it's basically the Focus morettes as such, the Saxo rears, and the Subaru lights and bumper vents, really.
Yeah. No, I say, because it's one of one, but then there's so many parts on it that are just so unique and one of one. It's I think it's probably one of the most unique, I think, builds that are out there, because again, all the custom work, the fabrication that's gone into all these sort of custom bits, and taking bits off other cars and molding them, it's really impressive. And in terms of all the carbon and fibre work that you've got, is there any parts of the car which are still not carbon fibre yet? Because I think when you had it on last time, you were on about there was more carbon fibre that you had added since the end of November. I suppose where else have you sort of added it, or maybe thinking of adding it, perhaps?
The carbon rear morettes are the latest edition.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, they finished the back end of the car. But yeah, there is more carbon. I so hope that I do get them before the next show, which could possibly be Cruise Culture if I get accepted in. There are doors on the way, full custom doors. But there is a potential of two others, which I won't give the main one away.
No,
but I will say that the side skirts are currently in development. But the other one, I know it'll either make or break the car.
Oh, okay. No pressure then. No
No,
pressure on
no,
yourself at all.
it's something that I've toyed with for a long time, and if I can do it, obviously I'm going to save myself a lot of money. But
Yeah.
I'm attempting to do carbon fibre myself.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I won't give too much away on that one, but there is a big feature that will become carbon.
Yeah, people can guess in the comments or on Instagram. But in terms of that carbon fibre work, so is this going to be the first time that you've attempted to sort of use that material to make something yourself?
I did a little bit of skinning on my rally car. I don't know if you've ever seen it, the Williams Mark 1 Clio that I built.
Yeah, I've got some pictures of it on. I think the first build breakdown that we've done. It was.
Oh, right.
Was it blue and it had? It was either white. I've got two.
Oh, yeah, white.
The white one with the red alloys, right?
Oh, no. That's the Mark II Clios. Yeah, another one that you've got there now. Yeah, no. I had a go with it. I was. Let's say it took a bit of getting used to with base coats and all this. There was a couple of head scratching moments, but did manage to produce a couple of little bits and bobs on there. So I was pleased with them. I think I'd like to think I've got a bit of a. Everyone said if you could fiberglass, you can do carbon, and I'd like to think I can get things 90 to 95% correct with fiberglass. So it's something that I've wanted to do because of the cost, and it's something I can say that I've built more on the car rather than I've had a company do this and I've had a company do this sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. It's sort of a dying art, I think, right? Because you don't really see, I suppose, many builds now or many people using like fiberglass and making things, I suppose, the way they used to back in the day on, I suppose, current cars and that sort of thing and modifying in general now, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It was, back in the early 2000s when, like, you had the Max Power era going, everyone on a Saturday and Sunday, especially around where I grew up, we'd all be out there sort of duct taping bits to the car and then, right, okay, let's get a grinder out. And, you were fiberglassing it all the time sort of thing then. But, as you said, you just don't see it anymore. You don't see the creativity of what they used to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it because there's a bit more on the market with like these maxed and lower kits, these splitters and sort of things? I'm not sure really.
Yeah, I think you make a good point because I can remember the days of. So again, I sort of come from a family of petrol heads and people that love modifying their cars and in sheds and garages the sites of not carbon fiber fiberglass bumpers and all this sort of things and yeah, I think to your point, I think the internet and things like that have definitely helped, but again it just makes parts like that so much more accessible now where it's almost, well, it is a lot easier, right, to just go on whatever site it is to buy something and chuck it on there as opposed to countless hours, countless days and weeks grafting and making something with your hands and then sticking it on, which I think is a shame, but I suppose there's pros and cons, right? Swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
Yeah, no, as you say, people just want to sort of buy something that's in a black gel coat and just bang it straight on the car sort of thing, rather than even back, when you were buying body kits, they never fitted correctly.
No.
As you said, you'd be in the garage or anything. There'd be, you'd end up coming out with it white with fiberglass dust all over you, and but it also brought a lot of highlight into it. It brought a lot of good moments and good memories, and I think there was a lot more to it back then, and I think that there was a lot more with the car scene back then. It didn't have so much negativity like you've got these days.
Well, yeah, and I think it may have been maybe the last podcast or the podcast we were on before, in terms of, I think, talking about some of the negativity around social media, and whilst there's obviously a benefit to it, yeah, I think some of the drawbacks are that anyone can have an opinion and say what they want, and again, there's a lot of negativity to it, which I think is a shame, but I think obviously amplified because of the way that we all are with our phones now, staring at them for more hours in a day than we should be.
Yes, yeah.
I'm completely guilty of that, by the way. I'm not hating at that. I'm one of those people that spend far too long on their phone or in front of a screen. But it can't be helped. But yeah. But one thing that I wish there were more of was boot builds, and I suppose going back to your car, like it's not just the boot build; it's the rear seat build as well. So obviously you said that you've got, is it 2 amps that you've got on there?
Yeah.
And then you've got did you say how many speakers again? Sorry.
It's 38, including tweeters and stuff.
Yeah, and obviously you've got the 2 NOS canisters in there as well. I mean, talk me through the boot build, because it looks like you've got 2, not in the floor, but I suppose you've got 2 where there would be rear seats, and then it looks like you've got 2, I suppose, on the sides or the arches on the inside, two more subs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talk me through the build, because what's also quite interesting with the boot build that you've done is that you had a roll cage to work around.
Yeah.
And you've got, like looking at it, it's just like looking at a work of art, because the image I'm looking at now, I think, is one that must have been taken at the show potentially, but that sort of top-down view, as if you're stood in the boot looking towards the front. And I'm amazed at, one, the level of detail, but also the intricacies of what's been built. Again, building it around the roll cage, and you've got all the pipes and it just looks so well done. Like it looks awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. There was a lot of head scratching. I certainly didn't intend on it going as wild as it did. I was sort of happy with it. I initially had the 2 where the rear seats would be, as you say, sort of sunk into the floor, and I put 2 in where the rear cards would be then, with one amp and 2 NOS canisters, and that's how I ran it for all of last year. And with failing to get to 2 shows at the beginning of the year through health reasons, I decided that I was going to max power absolutely regardless of where I was with anything, and if I was going there, then I wanted something to resemble back in the day, as they would say, with a crazy sort of boot build. And I got in touch with Vibe. I dealt with Alan there, which has been a godsend at the end of the emails and telephone. They're a great company to use. Their products are absolutely amazing. And I just started, and I was sort of pushing the limits to where I could go, and then, as you say, it was sort of getting things to fit around things. it just, yeah, there was so many. As I laugh and joke to a friend of mine, Carl, that the Kellogg's cornflakes, or the cardboard has come back out, and we're making. But I think I personally can't see any other way around it. You've got to sort of trial these things in there before you start, because I'm sure you've seen there that the floor and the side is carbon fibre. It is actually 2 mil thick, so it's a carbon sheet, and you don't want to go making mistakes.
No, they'd be quite expensive, I imagine.
Yeah, so it's always nice to trial fit it.
Yeah.
And as you say, like the level of detail, and I'm sure nobody would ever notice, but I'm sure if you zoomed in, you'd see all the screw heads are all facing the same way, and everything is with stainless screws and purple anodized washers, and yeah, it's just a labour of love.
Yeah, no, it's again, it's testament to the quality of the build, I think, and the work that you've been done. It's awesome, and yeah, I shout out Vibe. When I had my first car, I think I had a Vibe stereo, and then a massive sub, 12 or 14 inch, far too big for the boot of the car I had at the time, and it was only a small hatchback. I'm pretty sure I shook most of the things off it with that sub, but yeah, great products, and it's great that they've sort of been able to help and work with you on this, because again, 38 speakers is quite an impressive number of speakers to get in there.
Yeah, I remember them all. I'll have to send you the picture over. They were all on the kitchen table, and I was like, "Oh my God, what have I done here?"
Yeah, where are these all going to go?
Yeah.
But in terms of, I suppose, sound offs or anything like that, is that something that you've ever thought, sort of putting them speakers, I suppose, yeah, sort of making a lot of noise with them? Is that something that you've maybe considered doing, or?
It wasn't until I trialed it outside the front of the house here.
I bet the neighbours love that.
My neighbours really, they put up with so much between a grinder and the speakers and the noise of the exhausts and stuff is just. But yeah, no, they all came out and they were like, "God, that sounds incredible." And it wasn't until I stood back and, after playing with the amp and stuff, that I could hear how clear the vocals were, but how in the chest that the bass was. But I thought, okay, maybe. So hearing them at the reunion show 2 weeks ago sort of opened my eyes to the level that they all go to. So yeah, I think a little bit more dynomat underneath to get a couple of vibrations, but with the carbon panels, it's very hard. There was quite a lot of distortion noise, but I'm pretty confident I can get rid of a lot of that. So yeah, maybe next year we'll see about sort of going into the audio side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I say, if you do end up at Cruise Culture, I think that warehouse could be a great place to test those speakers, and I'm sure we can get the organisers on our side to do a quick demo and go through that 100%.
I'll leave you to the organising of that one then.
Oh, I think I've bitten off maybe a bit more than I can chew. No, we'll definitely look to get that sorted. But no, shout out Vibe. I mean, yeah, that's awesome, and yeah, I mean everything about the car is epic, and I say definitely can't wait to see it again, and definitely shoot some content for it as well, because it's obviously changed so much since I saw it last, of all the work that you've done.
Yeah, there's been a bit. Yeah, I like to try and do one or two big things sort of every year is going to be my goal. Last year was the carbon panels, and this year's been the install. And yeah, it's just, you've got to sort of have a little goal every year, I think, and if you can kind of get there, then you're doing something right.
Oh no, 100%. And then I think I mentioned earlier, but it would be great as well to talk about some of the rallying background, because one of the previous guests that we had on also lived in that max power era. I think they had the Ford with the Lambo doors and all that awesome stuff, but came from that background of sort of drifting before, getting into, or I said the background of drifting whilst doing all of that at the same time as well, and sort of evolving from that. Whereas obviously you sort of came at it, I guess, from a bit of a rallying point of view.
Yeah.
From a young age as well.
Yeah. I was, it would have been when Colin Cray won the 95 championship, would have been my first event. So what would I have been, about 6 or 7 at that time. I can remember bits of it. Obviously looking back now, and you see, what he achieved for the sport, and to see that on YouTube and stuff, and to think, God, I was there. But then, growing up through it from, I remember being down at our local airfield and with a friend of mine, a family friend of mine, and for the first 2 or 3 events, I was literally cleaning the windows and keeping all that clean and helping with the refueling, and it evolved from there. Then that you were on to, it doesn't sound much, but you were up to sort of tire pressures and bits and bobs, and before you knew it, then you were, I suppose that's where my mechanical background sort of all came from. You were in the mud, changing drive shafts, changing diffs and all sorts. So then, going on to compete, competed as a navigator, competed as a driver. And I think, as you say, we were in that max power era, but my heart at that time was with the rallying and the motorsport side of it. It's something that still holds a great part in my blood. Just unfortunately, down to health reasons, isn't something that I can compete at anymore. But I've got 4 friends of ours that we go out every year to Ireland to watch the Wexford stages. So we still involved as spectators, and I do help. I have done a couple of pre-event spanner checks, as they call them. But as for being on the events as a mechanic or navigator or driver, it's not something I'll look at doing for a long while anyway. Which is a little bit of a shame, but at the end of the day, this is why I suppose the Clio has developed to where it is, because I've set that little era of my life aside, and I'll continue to spectate it and support friends and family with it that are still involved with it. It was some of the absolute best memories that I can bring to the table, sort of thing. There's nothing greater than being in the middle of a forest at midnight in the middle of November, and all you can hear is the cheer of the crowd, and all you can see is this white light flying by with the almighty noise and flames coming out of the exhaust. There's no real, you can't put that into words these days. It's no, it is where my whole aspect of life sort of came from, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think whilst it's a shame, obviously, you're not able to participate in I suppose the racing side of it or the event side of it. I think the fact that you're still able to support and I say do some of those pre-spanner checks and still spectate and enjoy that with friends as well, I think is still nice. And obviously I think the time then that you've been able to put into the Clio to get it where it is as well, is well, as I say, the quality of the work and the fact that it's such a standout build. I mean, it speaks volumes.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. But yeah, it is unfortunate that I can't sort of compete with the rallying anymore. To be honest, I think the cost of it these days is absolutely astronomical. Yeah. I wouldn't want to know what half these top boys are spending.
No, I think, and again, that cost aspect, it goes back to the conversation that we had with the previous guest as well, in terms of the drifting side of it. I think any sort of motorsport, I think the cost has just increased to such a extreme volume, right? Where it's, before...
Spiral.
Well, exactly, and I think he was saying before, and I imagine it was probably the same, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could turn up with a car and you could have some of the basic things you needed, but then that was it. You could sort of enjoy and get stuck in, whereas I mean, with drifting and everything now, drift cars are not cheap, and I imagine rally cars are not cheap either.
No. And it is funny, duct tape and pop rivet guns was where we all started with the rallying, and and I'm sure the boys with the drifting were very sort of similar. And I don't think you'd see a drift car these days under about 500 horsepower.
No, exactly.
The engine build on that, the cost alone is just, I wouldn't want to. I'd be really intrigued to know maybe what one of the top level entry cars would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's I mean, it spirals. The cost of any motorsport is is rather high, but
yeah.
I think at least you're able to put that time and I think money into building one of the most unique cars I think I've ever had the privilege of seeing in person, and obviously the privilege of being able to talk to you as well about the work that you've done into it. And by the sounds of it, it looks like we're going to have to get you back on soon when the Corsa has progressed a little bit as well, which I'm super excited for. But I know you've shouted out a couple of people throughout, but is there sort of any other shout outs that you want to give as we sort of head towards the end now?
So my family, so my wife and my three children really are the sort of main, but there's Carl, who I get all of my detailing and cleaning advice from. We came through as sort of friends through the cars. We didn't know each other before or anything, and we've evolved into really good friends. So a big shout out to Carl, to Jason, who lends me his garage as and when I can. He's always there to give me a hand. And there's a young lad over the road that is fascinated with the car. So Ryan, I know you'll be listening to this when it goes out, so big thank you to them and to all the companies really that I've dealt with. Vibe, K-Tech Racing, Pure Motorsport. The list goes on. So if anybody's had any input with the car, then honestly, it actually means a lot. I know I say it to them when I see them and via messages, but it does. Without them guys beside you, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, yeah, it's the relationship that you build when you're putting together these sort of cars, and I think the memories that come with it as well. And
No, 100%.
yeah, obviously being able to share that, especially with your kids, and especially as they get to the age now where you say your daughter is, jumping out with a spanner every time you're walking out the front door to go and look at the car, and that sort of thing. So no, it's really wonderful to hear. And in terms of, I suppose, finding out a bit more about yourself, where can people go on Instagram or whatever social media it is to go and see the build?
Yeah, Instagram is the only social media I have. So yeah, go on there, give me a follow, carbon_Clio_RS200, and yeah, hopefully you'll like what you see.
I'm sure they will.
If you do, then the Corsa will be catching up.
Yeah, right up your street. No, I'm sure. I'm sure they will. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I say hopefully we get to see it in cruise culture, and we will definitely arrange some sort of shoot get together around that time, if you're up for it. And yeah, it'd be great to meet you in person and see the car again. But thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for everything. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Cheers, man. Bye.